Meeting, folks. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. This event is live streamed for everybody who can't be here tonight. A couple things I'd like to do. I'd like to introduce some of the panel members who we don't, some people don't know. Bobby Boland, George Wisnowski, Carl Recaro, and Mike Steffen are here tonight. Obviously, Commissioner Terry Stoffel and Commissioner Tom Wall. A couple housekeeping items I'd like to address. Obviously, we're going to keep this door closed to this room just to help with the audio, so we don't have any noise problems. I'd like everybody to please silence your phones if you haven't already. We're asking people in the room not to live stream while you're sitting in the room because that'll interfere with the audio here also. There's some handouts available. I think everybody's got one or can share one on tonight's topics. And if anybody's standing at the podium, I think Bob's the only one who's going to stand at the podium. If you have to go over to this chart to refer or walk around the room, you have to carry this mic with you. Last item, and probably the most important item, I think, is I think the word of the day should be civility. I'd like to see respect for those who have different opinions on these issues that you disagree with. And if anybody in the room calls out somebody or gets out of order, we're going to have to ask them to leave the building. So I'm sure everybody will be civil, but I just want to make sure that we carry on with that through the evening. Tonight's meeting is informational only. It will not be open to public comment. Tonight we're going to take a 30,000-foot view of the standards that each group is advocating for in solar energy systems. This is going to be our format. Each side we get 30 minutes to speak. The professional mediator is going to flip a coin to see who goes first. And after each side speaks for 30 minutes, Carl Recaro will give a brief summary on where he feels both sides have some common ground. After that, after both sides have spoken, we're going to take a 20 or 30 minute break. Each side will go back to your respective camps, consult with constituents, and we'll come back, reconvene for a 5 to 10 minute recap, let each side recap on their argument. And then after that recap, I'm going to give a timeline for how this is going to look moving forward. So Carl, I'm going to ask you to flip the coin and see who gets the floor first. Okay. And we'll,
heads will be Mike, and tails will be Bobby and George.
Tails.
Your choice, gentlemen.
We're going to second.
Defer?
Defer. Thank you. That
You
was
defer. You're going to defend this goal, right? Okay.
Rob, they're having audio difficulties. They can't hear well in the rotunda.
Okay.
Can I ask that we let Johan figure that out real quick so that way the other folks that are
Okay.
able to. Right.
Let's just wait. Want to wait a couple of minutes?
Sure.
Yeah, we have time.
Speak up. Wow. That's my mouth then. Is that good?
Can you hear this here? Just make sure you guys speak into the microphone.
Yes, so this is Mike Steffen on the Pro Solar side, and I'd like to thank Mike, just so everybody knows, he was able to step into this role midway. Chad Lippy was unable to be here this evening. Jean Pasco also served on this committee, and she did a good job as well. So thank you, Mike, for stepping up to the plate. Thanks Bobby and George as well. They've done an excellent job on their side. And, you know, we've had several meetings, and on several issues, the parties have been diametrically opposed on certain things, such as setbacks and height restrictions. But everything has been very civil. Everybody's been very, very kind in terms of our disagreements and friendly. And so I hope that can continue. So Mike, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. It was George and Bobby. It was a pleasure meeting you guys. So one of the things I'd like to begin with, I hope that people understand that for the individuals and the families who have engaged in agreements with energy developers, I don't think that those engagements were without a lot of thought. And in a lot of ways they weren't necessarily quick and easy to make. In a lot of ways it was a journey and with deliberation. So in what we put together here, and I'll just go through this quickly. I believe everybody has a copy of this. And I'm going to read from this, from what it says, and then I at times I will speak further. We believe that Huntington County must have a policy which protects landowner rights and farm viability. Farmers should have the freedom to diversify their income, sustain their operations, and protect their revenue. That does not mean that farmers should be forced to do that. It means that those who so choose have that option. I believe that options are a good thing. Options are always good. When options are not good, it's when there's too many externalities that limit other people and opportunities of other people. I don't think that's the case here, and that's where government comes in and mediates things. I believe under the current moratorium and current ban, and what I see to be proposed by the other side, what I'm going to call it, is really a government overreach in the form of a solar energy system ban that denies some essential freedoms and denies options for individuals to choose what they perceive to be the best for them. And that is how we have engaged throughout our history. Huntington County must and should have an all of the above energy strategy to reduce our dependency, attract business investment, and promote economic prosperity. Residents broadly deserve policies that create a more prosperous future for our county, not an ordinance locking us in to a vision of the past. And I can speak on this a little bit longer. The tax revenue equivalent, just the property tax revenue equivalent, as you move from agricultural assessment to what would be assessed on a solar energy system, is over a 5-fold increase. That's nothing to be condescended to. This means that there is tax relief, tax benefits for everybody in the county. And there are benefits, income-wise and development-wise, for all citizens, be they property owners or not. Every property owner benefit from increased tax revenue streams. In a publication by Purdue University, and we're talking about Purdue University here. This isn't a progressively tortured institution like Columbia. Purdue has drawn up numbers, has published them, that determine a $2.22 billion investment in 8 Indiana counties by NextEra Energy. NextEra Energy is the largest regulated public utility in this country. They own Florida Power and Light. Many of these developers are not just developers, they are utility companies as well. NextEra Energy operates one of the oldest nuclear reactors in the U.S. at Turkey Point, Florida, Miami-Dade County. Recently recommissioned. They do coal energy, they do natural gas, they do nuclear energy, they do solar energy, they do wind, because it's necessary. We can all argue with that in vain, but it is something that energy demand and energy creation has brought to our doorstep. Huntington County residents deserve a part of this future of energy creation as we as a country increase our energy demand. Huntington County must have an ordinance that properly governs solar energy systems, which does not unreasonably restrict or effectively block utility-scale developments, build absolutely nothing, anywhere, near anyone. Is short-sighted. Huntington County farmers have the freedom to pursue dual-use strategies for harvesting both agricultural products and renewable energy from the same property. Governor Mike Braun's support for agrivoltaics and solar grazing won praise from the American Farmland Trust. I know this sounds ridiculous. Why are we concerned about grazing sheep? But I don't think this is about grazing sheep. This goes back to the options that are created. And there are options that cannot be in any type of economic development. There are options that we can't even foresee, that we're limited. A southern farmer by the name of Chad Raines had the opportunity to diversify his farm with sheep grazing and afforded his family a life of substance outside of the dictates of the cotton market. This is just one example of economic development that can take place. Huntington County landowners must have the liberty to use large-scale renewable energy developments as a multi-year strategy for resting their fields, renewing their soils, and enhancing pollinator and wildlife habitat. Best practices can make farms more fertile and productive for future generations. Solar could be a way to improve our farm ground and bank our fields for the future. I guess one of the things I see that I'd like to allude to is the essential premise of private property is that people get to express their individuality and their beliefs on how they want to conduct their life. We are each different, and we should have respect and share each other's differences with respect. In fact, that should be our common bond. I have neighbors personally who have regularly changed the nature and the view, their decisions with their property over the years. I value those differences. I value that uniqueness. I also value the beauty of the windbreaks behind which I wouldn't be able to see a solar panel if I wanted to. Huntington County farmers, homeowners, and businesses must be free of arbitrary and unscientific limits on solar energy systems. The currently imposed limit of 20 kilowatts is insufficient to power a commercial dairy, poultry or hog operation, many or any industry of any other type. The current ban on solar energy systems in industrial zones is infamous. We do not impose prohibitive limits on development. We ask what we can do. Huntington County must have an ordinance that provides reasonable setbacks and landscape buffers for non-participating residences, not less than what is recommended by our state government and not more than what is required for waste management systems or actual nuisances. IC 8-1-42-10 sets standards for solar panel setbacks, including 250 feet from a non-participating dwelling. Section 327 IAC 19-12-3 requires a 400-foot setback between manure storage and off-site residential and public buildings. It is a debate. It would be a debate, I believe, about which one poses a greater nuisance. Huntington County must have an ordinance that empowers the Department of Community Development, Plan Commission, Development Plan Committee, Drainage Board, and other county offices to fulfill their statutory duties. And in this, I am really, quite frankly, regularly amazed at the level of mistrust and distrust for government action. I believe that we have quality decision makers who have performed very good work over the decades and currently are in this county. I may not agree with them, and I may not even like them personally, but their ability to execute decisively, efficiently, and with respect for their constituents, I don't disregard. And I have found throughout this process that the disregard for them to commit to the quality work that they can do without polemics regularly ringing in their ears is a representation of a distrust which is undeserved. Huntington County must have an ordinance with requirements for decommissioning and removing solar energy equipment. These provisions should be crafted carefully to protect participating landowners, but not be so onerous they block development of solar energy systems. I personally know little about the working of bonds related to decommissioning or developments. There's a lot of things I inform myself on. I believe it's a responsibility of mine to do that, but that's not one that I wish to do anytime in the future. But I do know that we have authorities and officials who regularly accomplish these tasks successfully. And I believe our commissioners can accomplish this without decommissioning being prohibitive. Huntington County Commissioners must consider the 56 specific changes we have recommended to the original solar ordinance. These 56 amendments are a good faith effort to strengthen the ordinance, address public concerns, protect all residents, and meet the community's increased energy needs. The community, the region, the state, this country as a whole. Our changes that we've made represent a beginning. I firmly believe personally that there's more room to move towards larger setbacks, that there is designs that can be made to substantially, if not completely, eliminate the vision that solar panels might find, that the vision that people might find offensive to them. Personally, when I drive down Highway 224 And basically, most of the time driving in a corridor, or at least on the one side, I see a resident. And I believe that we can do something similar here, without these setbacks being prohibitive. So once again, those are my personal feelings. Huntington County Commissioners must resist the urge to make this issue go away. We hope they can give instruction to their land use attorney to craft an ordinance that does not effectively prohibit utility scale development in our county. And I think it's good news that they have committed to a plan that sounds like it will move swiftly. Hopefully with lots of consideration. Instead, Huntington County Commissioners must renew their commitment to renewable energy systems as described in Section 11 of their own Huntington County Comprehensive Plan, including the potential of creating county-operated large-scale alternative energy plants. Since that long-range plan was passed in 2018, solar energy technology has improved immensely. American photovoltaic manufacturing capacity has expanded to meet domestic demand. Dual-use agrivoltaics projects have been proven successful, and Huntington County has attracted willing investors ready to commit tens of millions of dollars to tax-generating projects in our community. It is time to fulfill the promises made in the Huntington County Comprehensive Plan. That comprehensive plan, by the way, can say a lot of different things. As we've noted, I think we could both make arguments for ourselves or against ourselves with that. It doesn't really, it says a lot of different things. And I realize that. It was a necessary tool for the county to have in order to move forward with these things. In Baker Tilly's 2025 report, Baker Tilly is quite possibly the nation's most significant accounting firm, governance advisor, and economic advisor for an auditor for municipalities and county governments throughout our country, in Indiana, and I believe in this county as well. So in Baker Tilly's 2025 report relative to solar energy, paddlefish, bowfin, and maple solar generating capacity 235 megawatts, construction jobs 818, direct operational jobs 30, total operational jobs 70, construction spending direct dollars 122 million, construction spending total dollars 181 million. Annual direct economic output 17 million. Annual economic output total 29 million. And once again, those are numbers generated by the most respected public accounting firm, like I said, that does audits that municipalities and local governments, state governments as well, regularly use to make their decisions. Huntington County needs strong leadership that focuses on strengthening our future. Vision and courage were needed to develop our flood control reservoirs. Build Interstate 69 and widen US 24 to make a bypass that doesn't go through downtown Huntington. These investments, and these are just a few, And there are ones that are specific to the county of Huntington, and some aspects of the regions around us. These investments have greatly benefited our community, despite loud vocal opposition when they were first proposed. Huntington County Commissioners have the opportunity right now, over the next month and a half, to demonstrate vision and courage, support property rights and business development, attract hundreds of millions of dollars in investment and tens of millions of dollars in county revenue, and chart a smart strategic path for the future, and not one that reflects the past. I hope that I know that they are aware and want to diminish the amount of negativity that solar energy panels can create. I understand. And I'm looking forward to them doing their job and bringing this to a resolution. Thank you. How long will that take?
You're doing fine.
I'm going to give up my 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mike. I think it's gravely important that a lot of the folks know where George came from, who George is, and so on. But George was appointed to be on the panel for the 2v2, but I just want to let you know that George has a bachelor's in architecture. He's got a bachelor of science. He's got environmental design backgrounds. He's dealt with environment, building, commercials, and impact to the environment and so on. So I can sit here and tell you how he's certified. I can tell you about his Historic Landmarks Foundations that he's a past member on. I can go and tell you that he has a State of Indiana Renovations Code Committee past member. But really what it boils down to is that there's an expert on building industrial complexes, and that I don't know that I myself have ever met anyone more qualified than George, and so I'm glad he's part of our team, but George comes back with probably the most extensive resume that I can find. So, George.
Thank you, Mike. My name is George Bachnitzky. Really, just the way that it's spelled. So, when I was selected to help rewrite this existing solar ordinance, I had to make a choice of how it was going to be labeled. The question that was posed was, are you pro-solar or are you anti-solar? Well, I'm both. I'm pro-solar for small individual solar systems, for businesses, for personal use. Not a problem with that. I am anti-solar for large solar complexes, industrial complexes. I've been researching for an equitable solution for enhancing the existing ordinance, and I've come to the conclusion what I am I'm pro Huntington County. This little document here is the Huntington County Comprehensive Plan 2040 that Mike referred to earlier, that you can find all sorts of stuff. It was endorsed by the county commissioners, county council, county plan commission, board of zoning appeals, local town councils, and township trustees. If you turn to page 127 of this document, the find a little matrix. And what that matrix says, the goals of this ordinance is to protect prime agricultural land from unrelated development. Require that the uses of the land are sensitive to adjacent environmental features, strongly discourage incompatible and conflicting land uses from being adjacent to and proximity to one another. Those are the guiding principles that we used in comparing these, I'm going to call it the solar energy enhancements that we're going to be presenting to you today. So let's talk about cultural fabric. Some of you are concerned that the industrial solar developments will tear our community apart, which is exactly why the commissioners have charged us in revisiting the solar ordinance to ensure that we maintain the cultural fabric of Huntington County. Some of the people that supported this, a lot of them are still in office, so I don't see why they would be against what they had requested. The proposed ordinance is designed for effective and efficient use of solar energy production in a manner that does not transform the rural character and agricultural landscapes and view sheds that are an important cultural fabric of Huntington County. I moved here in 1979. I had the opportunity to go to California to work when I got out of school. I love the agricultural nature of Huntington County, the reservoirs. It was great. It's kept me here since 1979. We talked about the comprehensive plan. That's what's we talked about that earlier. Non-participants. We talked Huntington solar energy proponents champion property rights without the protection of the neighboring residents. Our ordinance ensures that property rights of non-participating landowners are not infringed. Its intent to enhance the quality of life of the citizens of Huntington County and the property rights of non-participating landowners. Small solar energy systems. Some folks, and Bobby mentioned it, even the county commissioners refer to us as the no solar side, which is not true. Our ordinance proposal makes it easier for smaller solar energy systems to be utilized in the county. An easier approval process for systems that are smaller than 30 kW. Right now, the existing ordinance is 10 kW, so we're bumping that by 50%, and we want to encourage it. Additionally, provide exemptions for solar energy systems covering parking lots, brownfield facilities, rooftops. Not a problem. I think we're all in agreement. When we start touching the land. We want to limit the changes to approved plans. One of the developers that's presently seeking permitting here has already asked for 2 changes to the height of the panels that they're going to put in. To avoid a bait and switch, which is what we see happening. It's a strategy that large developers use. I was in the same boat. We developed. I know how the system works. Okay. And once they get in, they get their foot in the door and say, "Oh, by the way, we do this, and this," and then later on, "Oh, by the way, we want to add this to it." Okay. So what we're advocating is that limit the changes after it's approved. If there are any changes that are proposed to the project, it must be completely resubmitted, and it must be considered as a new application. That's the only way that they're would be. Variance approvals. To avoid changes made in secret, our ordinance proposal includes a public process for variances. Again, this goes to the same thing. We've seen it already happening in Huntington County. So what we're putting in the ordinance is that variances must be approved by the county commissioners at a public meeting. They might be brought through from the plan commission. The plan commission can come in and say we're recommending it. The final decision needs to rest on the county commissioners in a public setting. We'd like to propose a countywide acreage cap. Nearby Blackford County right now, 73% of their prime farmland is dedicated to solar and wind. 73%. This is really, that's ridiculous. I mean, you might as well not bother farming. And what happens is it's kind of a domino thing. Once somebody starts doing that, the next day the neighbor goes, well, I'm feasible and I'm going to do it, and it just continues on. So we're proposing a countywide acreage cap of 1,750 acres. This overall cap caps the projects to 1% of the tillable ground. Once that quantity is reached, the 1%, it will trigger a one-year moratorium before additional permitting can occur. It's kind of a cooling off period, so that we can see if, these solar companies really doing what they're going to do, observe their abuses and things of that nature. And I've talked to Mike and some other people that have got, the solar company that we're working with, they're really good guys. That's fine. That's not what we're worried about. We're worried about the guys, the unknowns. And this ordinance has to be written that it covers everything. It covers the knowns and the unknowns. And that's what we're trying to do here. Countywide spacing. Many of you have driven down roads, county roads, we get mile upon mile upon mile of solar panels. And we want to avoid that in Huntington County. And what we're proposing is countywide spacing. What this would do is it would prevent mile upon mile of solar panels. We're suggesting a 3-mile buffer between projects and limit the size of each project to 1 square mile. Setbacks. The current ordinance limits solar developers only 200 feet from your house, your residence, not property, residence. While other counties have got stronger ordinances than we have of 2,000 and 1,500 feet, we have proposed a 1,250-foot setback for to our pro-solar counterparts. The 250 setback would be for non-participating properties. The setback distance would preserve view sheds of existing residences or existing residences. As I said, we started with the 1,500 feet setback, but we relinquished it to 1,250 as a good neighborhood gesture. We're willing to work with it. In addition, the proposed ordinance would now allow projects to encircle non-participating properties on more than 2 sides. There are, right now, the way it's planned, there are a number of people whose residence is going to be surrounded on all 4 sides of industrial solar. Equipment. As Mike mentioned, technology is evolving at an alarming rate. What we saw a year ago no longer exists, and there's new technology coming out. The proposed equipment could become obsolete. One of the things that our plan is asking for is that we don't want to see used equipment show up in Huntington County. Because what happens when equipment becomes obsolete, we'll say, we don't care, we'll just stick it in Huntington County and they'll never know the difference. Also, I don't want to see prototype equipment in here. I've done a lot of prototype systems in my lifetime, and what I have learned is if it hasn't been on the market for 3 years, don't touch it because they haven't got all the bugs worked out. And we don't want to be working the bugs out at our dark. Safety from harmonic distortion. With myriad of obvious and invisible concerns, our ordinance addresses unseen hazards, such as the safety of harmonic distortion. If you don't know what that is, do some reading on it. It's basically there are electrical waves that occur that just get loose, and they get loose in the ground, and they can travel up to 3 or 4 miles. This can be achieved through harmonic filters. It's real simple. I mean, the solutions for it is simple, but it has to be in the ordinance, or they're not going to do it, because it's going to cost them a little bit more money. It can be through harmonic filters or from additional grounding. What we have done is we've introduced the use of the National Electrical Safety Code in addition to the National Electrical Code. National Electrical Code deals primarily with building electricity. That's the basis for all electrical codes. National Safety Codes deals with utilities. Cell phone towers have to abide by it. The power lines that run down, the highways and stuff have to abide by it. We're just saying that the solar energy, mainly the transformers, should be abiding by it as well. No on-site storage. We've all seen images of solar fields devastated by wind, fire, and hailstorms. And our ordinance requires no on-site storage of damaged panels, materials and inventories for other projects. We don't want to see Huntington County be a staging facility for other projects. We're asking that faulty panels be replaced or removed in 60 days. Damaged panels need to be removed in 7 days. And we are asking for documentation, proof of disposal, either through recycling or landfill, legal landfill willing to take the waste. We have no landfill in Huntington County. If you go with how much they got proposed right now, we're talking about millions of square feet of panels. I don't know where you're going to put it. I know I've talked to, again, some people said, well, the technology will develop itself in 20 years. We can't compare it to it. So we are, part of the submittal process is you need to tell us who's going to take advantage of the commission. Screening, rural light is one of the top concerns, and that's shared by our counterparts. Mike, you mentioned it, and it needs to be effective, and it is effectively addressed through strong screening requirements that we're proposing. And we're talking about visual screening and landscaping as well as the maintenance of it. We want them to see, put the vegetation up and it dies after a year and nothing. We also have requirements for leaving all soils on site, including the topsoil. These soils can be utilized in building mounds to help with the screening. But we have seen instances where the solar company is selling off the topsoil. And so when they talk about reverting the land to agriculture, it's not going to happen. Property value guarantee. While the solar industry states that residential property values are not affected by solar developments, our property value guarantee ensures homeowners that they are not, who are not developing projects have a financially protected. Agreements for non-participating homeowners to protect property values for loans, refinancing, and other financial matters related to the value of the property. What we're seeing right now is some banks are refusing to give refinancing. If the original financing, your home was not surrounded by solar, you go in and want to refinance it, tough luck. If you got divorces or things of that nature, how do you all of a sudden that property that you thought was worth $300,000 is only worth $200,000? There's issues. So we have a proposal in our proposal deals with land values. Now, since the solar companies, I went to the post-solar thing in Huntington College, they had a realtor come in from Kokomo and say, your property values are going to go up. Well, then they shouldn't have a problem in signing this document. Water rate protection. Developing houses in the floodplain is a risky to the homeowner and the community. And likewise, our ordinance places common sense restrictions on developing solar and or near waterways. No solar energy systems in floodplains, major rivers, springs, prohibiting solar farms within 3 miles of areas that we see as significant usage for water. These areas are valuable water resources, and we need to allow the free flow of water. When you have 100-year or 500-year floodplains, and you have all those posts for the solar panels to be holding up, all the timber that comes through there, it starts damming it up. Now, the 500-year floodplain is a lot longer. Wildlife. You've seen videos of deer running along inside and outside the solar field timber fencing. And our ordinance enhances the protection of requirements that do not limit the migration of large and small wildlife. We're also including in that the restriction on clearing timber. We're limiting that to 10%. If they're needing to remove timber from the property, maybe run some wires and stuff, they can have to remove more than 10%. That leaves a habitat. I know that Bobby or a couple of guys went, and the deer population, when you see without the setbacks in these corridors, you see the deers, you see more deer on the roads. And we have enough of that problem in Huntington County, let alone forcing them because they have nowhere else to go. Underground electrical safety. Huntington has struggled to ensure underground electrical safety requirements are followed, and our ordinance strengthens the requirements for safety of how we bury power lines. Battery storage. On-site battery storage facilities have typically not been part of the permitting process for the three systems that are trying to get permits. But we are seeing more and more of them being installed as an afterthought. That goes back to that variance thing. Well, we're not going to put battery storage on this project. They get started, they start building it. Oh, by the way, for this to make it work, I need to have battery storage. If battery storage facilities are included as part of the solar energy system, whether as part of it or as an afterthought, they shall be permitted separately. And that portion of the project needs to be rezoned as M3 heavy industrial. I don't know if any of you really realize that all these solar projects don't have to be rezoned. They're going on agricultural land, zone agriculture. That's why I didn't hear about them. They didn't have to be rezoned in the public hearing. So, if nothing else, we're asking that the rezoning for the battery storage. Drainage. It's not difficult to find horror stories of landowners affected by drainage and unregulated industrial solar developments. Our ordinance speaks sensibly on this concern. Basically, that they're required to clear or replace drainage systems, piles, or ditches and things of that nature, so that they do not go into the neighborhood. Decommissioning. As mentioned earlier, developers state that the farm can be restored to its pre-development condition, but we've found that this requires great expense to ensure that that is done properly. And too often, these international companies suck the money out of the project, they resell it several times, and the final corporation files for bankruptcy, and we're stuck. The landowner and the community is stuck with this. And so what we're doing is we're asking for a cash escrow. We require 150% of the estimated cost of recommissioning and decommissioning, and that dollar amount needs to be reviewed every 5 years. The decommissioning bond shall be in cash, which creates an ongoing financial obligation for the final cleanup at the commissioning time. One of the solar projects has been sold twice now already.
Correct.
And so even if there was bonds, we're not, Mike mentioned the fact that, we're relying on bonding. Well, we have seen examples where the bonds are not transferred as part of the resale. And everybody assumed that they were. When it came time to use the bonds, like, oh, wait a minute, we don't have a bond for that. So, and we're willing to work on that cash. That the utility or this solar energy system, they can get the interest off of that cash bond. The cash bond is then deposited in a local bank. Liability insurance. And some of those developers lack necessary insurance to protect non-participating landowners or to leave a landowner responsible for the damages. So we right now there's like one line, you have to have insurance. So we bump that and describe what needs to be there. Pollution control insurance. We're all aware of HK Porter building has resurfaced lately as a community blight due to pollution left on site. And our ordinance ensures that non-participating landowners and the community are not financially development plan requirements. The existing ordinance is somewhat vague on what information needs to be submitted to the county for permitting, leaving the decision in the hands of the solar energy developers. Our proposed ordinance elaborates the submittal requirements so that all people presenting their systems to the county has the same required information. Well contamination and soil remediation. Some communities have found that the impact just from placing these, driving the solar posts in, have caused disruption in the water tables and leading to well contamination. And I know that, Huntington County, when I lived in town, I had 8 inches of topsoil and it was limestone. So I don't know how they're going to be driving these posts into limestone without causing damage. And you're talking about, somewhere around 10 feet on center. So we are requiring that the solar energy systems repair any damage in contaminated wells. Additionally, we'd like them to have requirements for farm soils to be reverted back to their original state and relative fertility for agricultural use. Emergency and fire safety. Fires on solar farms are real. I said nothing on the solar that's going to burn. Well, there was in January of 2024, Auburn, Indiana, their solar development experienced a large fire. Last month in February of 25, Kokomo Solar Development experienced a solar fire. So these are real. Kokomo was fortunate that it was raining and the ground was wet, that it didn't spread farther than it did. We're relying on rural fire departments to be prepared to manage these industrial fires, and they're not. They're not, meaning that right at the present time, they don't have the equipment or the training to do that. Electricity continues to flow through the panels as we have these fires, and even if you try turning it off, you're turning off the right section. So what we are requiring is that the solar energy companies provide training for local responders. We also want the local emergency management to have a say in the way that solar layout is with access roads, so their vehicles can get out there and not sink into the ground and be able to fight this. We're also requiring that all systems be equipped with rapid disconnects throughout the facility, not just in one area. And then lastly, public notice and community engagement requirements. Our zoning ordinance requires public to be notified when a neighbor puts up a barn, but they don't require some of us to be notified in 3,000 acres of involvement sold. So our ordinance follows that precedent of the barn. There will be requirements for public meetings and notification of nearby property owners to keep the citizens of Huntington County informed of what is going on in our community and offer additional transparency. And our ordinance does not say adjacent properties. It's 3 miles, a 3-mile radius. Again, because when you look at the land value, the property value, what we found in studies is that it will affect properties 3 miles away from that. So that kind of summarizes the ordinance that we have. We went from 4 pages to 24 pages. If I were to present the whole thing, it took us 6 hours to go through the ordinance. So if you're interested, we'll talk. We'll give you more information. I have not addressed things that were already in the existing ordinance that we're having a problem with, and things that we're close to Mike on the brain. This is
Yeah, my name is Bob Bold. I'm a Huntington County resident and a local business owner as well. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. You obviously heard George and Mike both talk about our comprehensive plan for 2018. And Mike is right. You can pick and choose what you wanted out of here. But one of the things that stick out with me is section 2. It says establish a Huntington County land trust to protect forests, wetlands, and prairies and valuable farm ground. industrial solar does none of those. I know that the opposing side believes that the solar will protect the farm ground, and I just disagree. But in the current lease in Huntington County, not from some faraway land, but this is a copy of the actual EDF lease. I just want to share with you what it says specifically. That the tenant may, at its expense, make any other alterations, improvements, and changes, including without limitation, removal of existing improvements, fixtures, trees, and plants. So it goes on that says that the landlord is required, if there's an if there's a permitting for forestry, you as a landowner, when you sign this, you have to go and get them a permit so they can timber cut down anything they want on your land. And they keep the money, which is really none of our concern and none of our business. However, it goes completely against what we said here. Which is it? I don't know. The other aspect of the comprehensive plan.
That's 30 minutes.
Oh. I got about 3 minutes. So basically, I just want to go through this. The commissioner's job is to protect all of Huntington County. It's to protect all of us. What it's not, the commissioner's responsibility is not to be responsible to make sure that your business is successful. None of them have ever come to me and said, what's your business plan for next year? What's your model looking like? So whether it's industrial solar or anything, that is not their role. Their role is to protect all of Huntington County. The landowner, if you read the lease, I have it right here, I'll provide copies to anybody. There's also a section that indemnifies the solar company when they put those things in the ground. They indemnify, which means if something bad happens, you, the landowner, you're responsible. So in our ordinance, we're saying that you, the landowner, carry insurance as well. It just makes common sense. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I think we're good there. I just want to end it with Allen County, that brought in Google in their own data center. They said, no, we don't want the renewables here. We don't want the solar here. I just want to let you know that Fulton County says 2,000 acres or 2,000 foot setback. Whitley County's at 1,500. Wabash County says 1,320. We're at 1,250. We're the lowest out of all of them.